You may or may not know this about me, but I love plants. I absolutely love plants. I am a plant lover. I would consider myself a pretty good plant parent. My thumb may be maybe like a light green, but I think I'm pretty good overall. Well, a few months ago, I bought a fiddle fig, and for anyone who's not familiar with plants, fiddle fig plants, they have big dark green leaves and they're shaped somewhat like a fiddle. Well, I bought a little miniature one, a little small one. I brought it home. According to its directions as far as taking care of it, you want to keep it in a bright light, water it thoroughly, not watering it again until the soil's pretty much dried out. So after weeks and a month or two of doting on it and taking care of it, it grew new leaves, and I was so happy. I mean, I would look at the plant every day and just stick out my chest as a proud plant parent and say, look at what I did. Well, not long after that, I noticed that it started drooping. And then I noticed that the new leaves, which were small, were stagnant in its growth and did not grow any bigger. So this left me a little concerned, to say the least. So I looked at the plant and I said, well, maybe I need to repot it. Maybe it's outgrown its pot. So I take it out of its little pot and I put it in a bigger pot. Then I put it back in the bright light and I water it on its schedule and yada, yada, yada. But the plant did not improve. In fact, it grew worse. And now I'm a little bit more concerned. I then decide to put it back in its original pot. Maybe I repotted too soon. And by then it had lost a few leaves. So what was once a vibrant, full bushel of fiddle fig leaves is now down to maybe about 4. So I switched the pots, put it back in the smaller pot, put it back in the bright light, and watered it. And in spite of my efforts, the plant eventually lost all of its leaves. And nothing was left but a stick, okay? Basically the trunk or the stem of the plant. So I looked at the plant. Well, I looked at the remnants of the plant and I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep watering it. I'm not going to give up. Even though it's just a stick right now, I'm going to water it because the stem itself, it still was viable. It was still stiff. It wasn't shriveled up, and its offshoot was still green. There were no leaves, but everything still looked viable. So I just started watering it and just staying in the habit of taking care of it. Not long after that, I saw these little green dots on the stem. And then I saw a couple more. And as of today, there's a whole little cluster of leaves peeking out from the top of the stem. So I have basically nursed this plant back to health. I just said, wow, look at this. I messed up the first time. I kept the faith. I said, you know what? I'm just going to do better. Read up on some of the things that I was doing wrong or whatever. See if I can do better. And once I saw those green dots, I knew I had been given a second chance. And it just made me think just how good God is. You know what I mean? He is a God of a second chance. He really is. I mean, we go through life. None of us are perfect, and we stumble, we mess up. And we sometimes do too much, sometimes not do enough. You know, we're hard-headed. We don't listen. We go left when we're supposed to go right. Or we go on our own accord and with our own vision of our lives, which is not even parallel or even connected to what he wants for us. We get into trouble. I may mess things all the way up till we don't even know how we're going to get out of it. And guess who always comes through? God always comes through. Whenever we are in need, whenever we need help, God comes on through. And there is no limit on or limitations as far as how many times God throws the lifeline. I mean, we can be a piece of work. You know what I mean? You know that. But through all that and in all that, God is a God of second chances. He loves us so much that he forgives us. He forgives us, and he will wipe the slate clean, and we can start again. We can start anew. He doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't hold it against us. Making a mistake does not have to be the end game. making a mistake or doing something that you're not supposed to, doing wrong, you don't have to live in those mistakes. Those who are wise, you learn from your mistakes. And when you know better, you do better. God gives us so many chances to get it right. He gives us so many chances to do right. He is a dutiful Father. He is a patient Father. He loves us unconditionally, even in the midst of us being ourselves. I mean, God is so good. I say that all the time because He is. I mean, we've all fallen short. We've all fallen short of the goal. We've all messed up. We are able to ask for forgiveness and then be given a second chance. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you've been through. God will forgive you. God will wipe your slate clean, and He will give you a second chance. He will give you a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. I mean, it's not like baseball. Can you imagine if the rules were like that? If God operated on the same rules of baseball, as far as 3 strikes and you're out? Honey, if we live by the rules of baseball, if God applied the rules of baseball and gave us 3 chances, only 3 chances to get things right and not make a mistake, honey, none of us would be here. Can you imagine? I cannot imagine. None of us would be here. Forget 3. What if you only had 1 chance? Man, we wouldn't have made it out of kindergarten. What if God operated the way that we operate? A lot of us are still holding grudges against people for stuff that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. What if He kept score? What if He always brought it up? Every time you try to do the right thing, He brought it up and said, well, listen, you didn't do it right the other time and you was wrong about that. What if He acted like us? Because we ourselves, we barely want to give people half a chance, let alone a second chance. Full of unforgiveness. And if He had a limitation on how many chances, how much forgiveness He would bestow upon us. But thank God for who He is and what He is. When you humble yourself and ask for forgiveness, He will wipe the slate clean. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you've done in your past. It doesn't matter what you are doing now. Again, if you humble yourself and come to Him and ask for forgiveness, He will expunge your record. You know, a lot of us, we don't forgive ourselves first. We figure we've done so bad or so much bad, and our missteps and our mistakes are so egregious that God wouldn't forgive it. There's no way God would forgive this because I've done ultra bad. Well, I'm here to tell you He will. I'm here to tell you there is nothing new under the sun as far as God is concerned. He done seen it all, and He already knew what was going to happen before it even happened. But if you humble yourself to Him, give your life over to Him fully, and ask for forgiveness, He will forgive you. There is nothing that you have done that God cannot or will not forgive you for. So, don't hold yourself hostage to your past. Don't hold yourself captive to the mistakes that you have made. It's time to forgive yourself and allow yourself to be forgiven. God will forgive you. You come to Him, supplicate yourself. He will dry your eyes and you can start anew. You know, being saved and giving your life over to Christ is to become a new creature. All things are supposed to become new. You know, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you think. But that does not leave you impervious to mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have missteps. But in having all that, we still have a loving God that we can go to and say, you know what, God, I messed up, but now that I know better, I'm going to do better. Forgive me and let me start again. And as your Father, He loves you so much, He will do just that. And some of the mistakes and missteps you have to go through anyway to get to where you need to be. You know, some of us are so hard-headed that we got to go through this stuff, you know, and see for ourselves. You hear the expression, you know, some people got to touch the fire to know that it's hot. You know, some of us, we got to go through the fire and through the rain just to get to a point of humility and knowing that, you know what, God, you was right when you said what you said. God's been telling you to do a certain thing. You've been bucking at the system, and, you know, you may have to stumble a little bit just for Him to get your attention. But God is a forgiving God, and he is there when you are ready to start back up again. When you turn your life around and give it to him, you start with a brand new slate with no demarcate, with no red marks, no X's, no demerits, none of that. Because under him, you are a new creature. Your past becomes old and everything becomes anew. Following Christ, following God, there's so many benefits to it. So many benefits to it. And a lot of people, those who don't even follow him or believe, they don't even know that they're still benefiting from his grace. They are benefiting from his grace. Every time we wake up and breathe a breath of fresh air, that is God giving us a second chance. Every time we are able to get up and go to work and get there safely, that is God giving us a second chance. Every time we get on and off the planes safely and get to our destination, that is a second chance. That's what I'm talking about. God is a God of second chances, even if you're not even asking for it. That's how good God is. He is a God of a second and third and fourth and fifth and 15th and 25th and 35 and 6 and just on and on and on. He is a God of many chances. Honey, you have been redeemed. Give your life over to him and allow him to expunge your record and start again. Because he is a God of a second chance. And with that, we are going to put a button on it.